Doctors and nurses of Reddit, have you ever witnessed a couple have a child that was obviously not the father's? If so, what happened? Story 1. I had a vasectomy. While chatting with the doctor, he told me about another patient. This guy had 3 kids and came in for the snip snip because he and his wife decided they were done having children. The doc opened up his sack and found nothing to snip. The guy was born without the ability to have children. The poor doctor had to explain to him what happened. Imagine finding out that way. Story 2. My aunt was a nurse in the maternity ward. She had a couple come in where they were both very black. Lady has baby and is white as fuck. Like, totally pale, no trace of any pigment. They put the baby on her mom and the mom starts yelling about how this isn't her baby and they stole her baby. In all fairness, you can be very confused during and after the delivery. It wasn't stupidity. Just sobbing and freaking out, and the father is just sitting there and looks very confused because even he's realizing that even if she did cheat, there's no way that the baby would be that white. The doctor and nurses are trying to assure that this is her baby, and the skin usually darkens later. Come to find out, when he called his mom, she pointed out that they have a second cousin who is albino and maybe the baby got that gene. Turns out that's what happened. Baby was albino. Story 3. My husband and I were visiting our friends who just had a baby. We are the godparents. And we were standing in the hallway talking to both sets of grandparents. Well, apparently the hospital has a rule that only 5 visitors may be present in the hallway, but the security guard had let all 6 of us in for some reason, and we didn't realize it. This nasty nurse comes up to us, notes that there are 6 of us, tells us somebody will have to leave immediately, and then turns to my husband and says, "Oh, are you the daddy?" Without missing a beat, he says, "That's what we're all trying to figure out here." She gets a look of horror on her face and backs away. Story 4. I work in anesthesia. One of my colleagues had someone vaginally deliver a baby with Steve's lunchbox tattooed above the birth canal. The OBGYN said to the father after delivery, "Congratulations, Steve." The guy replied that his name was indeed not Steve. Don't know if that counts. Story 5. Worked in the Army hospital in Fort Lewis. A woman came in for belly pain and we found out and told her she was 10 weeks pregnant. The husband at the bedside started laughing, grabbed his coat, and left the room explaining to us that he had been in Afghanistan until 3 weeks prior. He looked back at her and just said, "Well, that's that, Brittany." I always like how classily he left her, while she just silently stared off into space. When my son was born, they took my blood, and his, for a paternity test. My wife flipped. The nurse explained that if my son came back, not mine, they would have to ship her off to a local civilian hospital for whatever regulation they had to follow, Army hospital. She still talks about it to this day. Story 6. Had a lesbian couple come in. One of them was pregnant, neither knew. Judging from all the screaming, this information was poorly received. Story 7. One of my favorite cousins just did 23andMe with her dad and discovered that they are not biologically related. This is especially horrible because my aunt, her mother, is one of the most ridiculously zealous and judgmental people I have ever met. She screams at the baby cousins when they don't behave perfectly. She literally threw a pocket Bible at a woman in a grocery store after the woman was on the phone and said shit or something. And she likes to send me unsolicited long letters about God's plan for my life. Surprisingly, her husband is the most fun and laid-back person I've ever met. He did not deserve this, or her. Story 8. I had the opposite happen, sort of. My wife and I are both brown-skinned, dark-haired, half Mexicans, and our mom are both 100% white blondes with blue and green eyes. So we sort of knew it was going to be a crapshoot with our baby, but the nurse who was assisting with delivery had no idea. At one point, she gets sort of nervous and calls for help, and another, I guess, more senior nurse came in and nodded and came over to talk to me. I thought there was something wrong with the baby as she comes over and stumbles through some questions, so I was the father and no one else was coming, etc. Then finally, she awkwardly asked if either of us happened to be blonde growing up. I said yeah, I was, and both the baby's grandparents are blonde as they come, and this wave of relief went over her as she brought me over to see this blonde as hell crowning baby head. It's funny because he looks like me. If you apply the Gringo Instagram filter, we often get awkward questions about his heritage, and my wife always hits them with, "Yeah, we're not sure if he's mine." It's always funny to see people nod for a moment and then go, "Wait, what?" Sometimes the copier is just low on toner. Story 9. Not in the hospital, but a friend and his girlfriend were on again, off again, and she got pregnant. She swears it's his. He wants a paternity test. He moves in with her and her mom. She has the baby, take the test. Test is taking a while to come back. Him and his family are over the moon with the baby, kind of forget about it. Mentions it to girlfriend's mom one day, and she says, "Oh, yeah, she didn't tell you? Come back a while ago. Totally your baby. Awesome. All is well." A few months later, they're moving out, and he finds the test in a box. It's not his baby. Story 10. I used to work in the newborn nursery at a hospital. We got the babies right from delivery, cleaned them up, footprinted them, checked vitals, etc. Dads usually came in with the newborns. This dad comes in with this baby. Dad is white, mom is white, baby is very obviously not white. The dad was very quiet standing next to this baby, watching us clean it up. He says quietly, "I don't think this is my baby." You could tell he was absolutely devastated. We advised him not to sign the birth certificate until he was sure. Not sure what happened after we sent the baby back out to mom, but I felt awful for the guy. I can feel his sadness through the text. Story 11. I worked labor and delivery. I had a very young mother come in, accompanied by her parents. She was just 12 or 13, and her parents looked stuffy and kept telling her she should have had an abortion, she was too young, etc. Her mother was silent the whole time, but leaked tears for her constantly. While she labored, I received a call from a very young boy who said he was her boyfriend. His trembly voice explained that her father wouldn't come to the hospital. I explained that I couldn't give out information, but he could talk to her afterward. I went in, told her he had called, and she showed me a picture of him. He was white, straight red hair, pimply and tiny, the runt of the litter. About an hour later, her physical ed teacher stopped by to check on her, which I thought was odd. We didn't get many teachers checking on students. He was as opposite of the boyfriend as he could get, tall, very muscular, beautiful smile, and rich chocolate brown skin. The girl's father accompanied her to the delivery room. Odd, but okay. The more she pushed, the louder she cried. In between, she kept saying, "Sorry, Daddy." Finally, out slid a very beautiful chocolate brown baby boy. I thought her father was going to pass the fuck out on my delivery room floor. I did my usual, "It's the boy," and said nothing else. I handed him off to a nursery nurse and got Dad a chair. The new mom said, "I'm sorry, Daddy," over and over again. Her mom, now frowned up, came to see the baby, took one look, started asking God for forgiveness, and left. I sent her dad home a short bit later, admonishing him to react at home, not here. I set up a time for our counselor to meet up with him before I left. After talking to the new mom, she admitted her gym teacher had been giving her special treatment. I explained sex to her, and she said she only kissed the BFF, but had stayed after school to be with her gym teacher. I'm state mandated to report child abuse, so I did. 2 weeks later, with her world shattered, her baby was given up for adoption. I wish her the best. Of note, this was 1989. I've been reading this thread every now and then today, and this is seriously one of the worst ones I've read. It seems like the poor thing didn't even realize that something bad had happened to her. I hope she's okay and not suffering too much. We sincerely appreciate you taking the time to watch our YouTube video. If you find our content helpful and enjoyable, please click the subscribe button to stay updated on any new videos we share in the future. Thank you once again, and we hope to see you in our next upcoming videos.